Coming at you live from all over Ohio. A Cleveland Browns podcast full of laughs, rants, fun, and stats. A place where all Browns fans' voices are welcome and heard. A show that aims to inform and entertain you. With your hosts, Jacob, Nick, and Ed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Barking Browns Show.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into episode 61 of the Barking Brown Show. I am your host, Jacob, at Roachism13, joined as always by my wonderful co-host, Mr. Nick Carnes at Carnesies817 on Twitter, and Mr. Ed in Columbus down there. Gentlemen, how are we this evening?
It's just another boring day in Cleveland sports talk. I'll tell you, nothing really going on. Just the status quo, typical. Okay.
I echo those sentiments. We were talking a little behind the curtain of some topics for tonight's show, and then, the news hits today, and I don't know. We'll go into that, but it will give us something to talk about, and probably lead to further discussion. So once again, thanks to the Cleveland Browns for always being that drama-filled team. And you know what?
I want to say
we could be Jacksonville.
We could be Jacksonville, and on top of that, I just want to say, as much as we're thanking the Browns for that, we're thanking the Guardians for actually being great and helping us get through all of this. So Thank you.
And we appreciate that. All right, some housekeeping notes right off the top, some things, some comments, some stuff that's going on, stuff that is going on over on my website, or not my website, but the website I contribute to with Dog Pound Daily. I put up a piece on Mike Harley Jr., the wide receiver that has caught a lot of people's attention. Cameron Justice specifically has tweeted about Mike Harley. Cameron Justice has tweeted about Mike Harley Jr. on a couple of different occasions, said he is one of the guys that is creating the most separation during the offseason program. So I really like hearing that sort of thing because he's a pure slot receiver. We do not have a slot receiver. We need to figure out something about that. I know David Bell is probably going to play some in there, but I wrote an article up on Mike Harley after watching some tape on him. So if you haven't checked that out, go over to Dog Pound Daily and check that out. I think it is worth the time. This Friday, 9 p.m. live, we will have the second Dog Chug Barking Browns crossover event. And it will be so many shenanigans, so much fun, probably adult beverages, but you will not want to miss that. It's going to be a lot of really fun entertainment to help get you through the dead period of the Cleveland Browns offseason, which there just never seems to be a true dead period.
It got pretty saucy last time.
Good.
Just a forewarning. So you will not want to miss that episode that we have for you. And now Ed, full-time, right before Ed was producer Ed, now Ed, full-time member of not one, not two, but three shows, and two of those shows same night. Wow.
2 out of 3 ain't bad, like Meatloaf says. It's going to be a fun time because I remember the first time the Barking Browns and the Dog Chug got together, and let's just say yours truly, Ed in Columbus, the next day, he was dead in Columbus. So let's just say that. It was some fun times, and I can't wait to reunite with Andy, Ross, and Roger like I always do. Now, I will say programming note, there is no Dog Chug tomorrow, Wednesday at 10 o'clock usually. We're going to save all the fun for Friday at 9 o'clock when we team up with you guys, which is me. So it's like me connecting with me. So it'll be a fun time. I love you, Sammy. So it's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. So tune in 9 o'clock on Friday.
What's better than one Ed? Two Eds.
I can't.
All right. So coming up will be a solo series that I'm going to start of podcasts and YouTube videos. They will not be live, but they will be available on YouTube and podcast format, where I'm going to grade all of the Browns position groups. That is likely to start this weekend. Hopefully we'll get out with the first one. I'm not going to do quarterbacks first like you would think I would, because I'm going to wait for potentially the suspension to come out so that I can really preview what they're actually going to have. But before we get to that, we want to tell you about our friends over at Built Bar. And guys, I can say this. I'm not just saying this because I got a partnership with them and we have a discount code. I've been eating Built Bars for over a year, and they are absolutely the best protein bars on the market. My wife said this, the consistency, because you think about the protein bars, right? Kind of hard, kind of chalky, maybe some flavor. You don't really like them. A Built Bar, that's like eating a Three Musketeers. It's got dark chocolate, real chocolate encased, and then a nice soft gooey center. Amazing flavors. Salted caramel, by far the best one. If you are looking for a good tasting and legitimately healthy protein bar that it will help you curb those sugar cravings, go to built.com, built.com. At checkout, use the promo code BARKING for 10% off. So check out Built Bar, 10% off, promo code BARKING.
We would very much appreciate that. And Jacob over here got my mouth watering. I just, you know what? And I want to say too,
I got another order on the way. I got an order on the way right now.
About your solo venture. That, you know what? I think you're really cut out for that. So I'm excited to see what you do and what you come out with. And I know it's just another way that we're giving you guys content. You know, Jacob's working extra hard, so kudos to you. But it's going to be fun to see. So I can't wait to see what you got for us, Jacob.
And if you guys are bored and you want to watch a little bit more of me, I don't know why you would. I was on Sports for CLE on Cleveland.com as well as their YouTube yesterday. At about the 4:50 mark, I was the final 10 minutes of the show. I popped on there, talked some Watson and some wide receivers and some stuff like that. I will be absent from the show the next 2 weeks. I will still be doing some of the podcasts and the weekend stuff. I just will not be. I'm going to be on assignment, kind of preparing for the long, grueling season as it comes up. So that is it for the housekeeping notes, guys. Let's get into the topics. Obviously, the big news of the day, Deshaun Watson settles 20 of the 24 outstanding civil suits. People asked about, does that count 25 and 26? 25 and 26, which we were told were coming, have not been filed. So it still stands as 24 open cases. It doesn't mean 25 and 26 aren't still coming. Busby he released a statement about the settlements. All he said was that there are still 4 cases. He didn't say, I talked to somebody who told me that in this settlement, Watson could have also settled with cases 25 and 26 without them being filed so that they never get to that stage. So there is a possibility. Busby didn't say that happened, but there is a possibility that was what happened. I kind of asked a couple people because, like, I'm not a lawyer, so it's like, is that something? And a couple guys on Brown's Twitter was like, oh yeah, I've done that multiple times. It saves money on filing and things like that, especially if after it gets filed, it was going to get settled anyway. You just go ahead and you settle it because clearly this was a mass settlement. So he files. They say that they're going to continue with the other 4 cases. He said he will try them in due course. It'll be interesting to see if they go to court or if they settle as well, because I'm really not sure. I know that Ashley Solis was one of them that didn't settle, and she was the first to make the allegations as well. And we'll see. I mean, some of them have said they weren't interested in settling, just like Watson said he wasn't interested in settling. Yeah. But this really felt like it was a situation where they were just trying to move past it. And by them, I mean the NFL. So I'll give you my thoughts on that, what it means, what I think it means. We'll get to that now. I'm also watching the Guardians over here, and Stephen Kwan got another hit there. So in case you're wondering about what Kwan was doing tonight. So we will start with Nick. What did you think? Why do you think this happened? What does it mean? Do you think it has anything to do with negotiating this suspension, which kind of what the NFL kind of talked about last week? So where are you at on the news of the day?
Well, so the news to me today was exciting for a reason that you might not be the obvious one. And it's not that I'm talking about Deshaun being on the field or that or what his possible suspension could be, but it's more so that I think this movement puts us significantly closer to a conclusion of what Deshaun's penalty, suspension, whatever is going to be, and you know what? I think for me personally, I've been having a rough time just getting excited about the Browns at camp. I love camp. I
don't think you're alone in that. Not from all the people I've talked to.
Like we love that, and you know what? It's like Ed's gonna come up to camp this year. Like we're trying to get excited and have fun, and it's like that elephant in the room holds you back, right? Or at least for me. And so this feels like a significant step forward, right? And obviously Deshaun's changed course, and we can debate as to why that is. Which you know what? I'll
I
circle
don't
back.
think we're going to get into that. I just don't. That maybe another show will get into that, but
Sure.
But you
yeah.
guys can. I don't care.
That's fair. It's a step forward, I think, and there's a lot to this, but at least we're one place closer to actual football in my mind. So I am excited for that reason. And I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Well, here's what I thought I was going to be chill tonight. I thought I was going to come in here and, just be Mr. Cool. But, last night I got a little rowdy and down with the Browns, and I kind of feel like getting that way right now, guys. And here's why. So all last year, all we heard was if Case Keenum would be the starter, or we just had average quarterback play, that last year would have been a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
And so going into this year, it's all this, like you said, it's hard to get excited, Nick. I got to tell you something. Yeah, I understand about the whole Deshaun Watson. You get a franchise quarterback, a Ferrari, and you got to leave it in the driveway because you ain't got your insurance or whatever the reason. Maybe you can't take it out. So you got your old reliable, you got your Kobe Brissett over here. And you know what? He's not going to lose us games like Baker did last year, and I think he's better than Case Keenum. So all you people in Browns land that aren't excited, you know what? I'm glad you're getting excited. You're about a month behind me. I'm going to be in full go here. But like I said, you're welcome to join me. I hope you guys bring it, because you should be excited about the Cleveland Browns. They're going to be a really, really good football team, no matter who the quarterback is. This is not going to be a wasted year. If you guys don't make the playoffs, it's a failure. Okay? Because it's at 11-6, 10-7 with Jacoby Brissett the whole year. But if Deshaun Watson, let's be real. The news that came out today, 20 of 24, that's good math, okay, when it comes down to getting him on the field. Look, I don't think he's going to be suspended for the whole year. I think it's more like an 8 to 12, bargain down to 4 to 6, okay? So that's the reality. So the people that don't think he's going to be on the field this year, you got to get over that one. He's going to be on the field. This Browns team's going to be really, really good, even if Jacoby Brissett's the quarterback. So, Nick, come on. Let's go Cleveland Browns.
Dude.
Come on. Let's get excited.
Jose Ramirez just hit a double and his helmet flew off and he slid into second base and was just barely safe. It was really exciting.
He must have been listening to me. He
got
was excited.
It was a sign. I think, honestly, there's so much about the Browns that is great, and I think Jacob's going to highlight some of that stuff in his videos, that has just been dramatically overshadowed by all this Deshaun Watson stuff. And I think the Browns defense has a potential to be very good. I think they were way better than they were able to show because the offense was so dysfunctional towards the end of the year. So the deeper you dig, and I think that's why I'm so excited about the elephant in the room slowly but surely sticking its foot out the door, because the deeper you dig, the more there is to be excited about when it comes to the Browns.
So originally we were going to talk about some news that came out, or not really news, but leaks that came out last Friday. There's Friday into Saturday as it pertained to the upcoming suspension of Deshaun Watson, because I hate to break it to some people that think there isn't going to be one. Even if it's not a season, even if it's 6 to 8, 6 to 10, 12, whatever it is, it's still going to happen. I just don't see a world where it doesn't happen, because I don't see a world where he's 100% innocent. So, I just, whatever, I don't think settlement is necessarily a admittance of guilt like some people do, but it's also not, some people have told me it's an admittance of innocence, which is kind of bizarre as well, but I don't know. So we got told
there's a middle ground, right?
Like everybody's like, I don't, that is weird. That doesn't make sense.
Our friend Derek, Bulletproof West, just came out with a video of the two polarized sides about Deshaun Watson and basically how you feel about him. And it feels like that's what everything is. It's either all one way or all the other.
You can't be neutral.
Middle. Yeah.
People will attack you in the middle. I've been there for a while.
There's no ties. There's no ties on Twitter.
No ties. No
so there was
on one side, win or loss, babe.
There was essentially a rumor. First, there was a leak from the NFL, then from the NFLPA, where the NFL was like, we're going to push for a very significant suspension, a year-long suspension. Well, that was the number. First, it was significant. They're like, it's going to be a year plus. And then the NFLPA, they bring in Jeffrey Kessler, which was, if you recognize that name, he was the lawyer against the NFL in Bountygate, Deflategate, Spygate, like all of these. I have seen quotes from people saying that he is a thorn in the NFL's side, and he is quote an asshole who keeps Roger Goodell in line. So they bring him in, and the report is they're going to lobby for no suspension. So then all of a sudden they're like, it sounds like the NFL and the NFLPA may sit down and negotiate a suspension, which I thought, I have never heard of that, which granted, this is an unprecedented case, so an unprecedented outcome and situation to get to that outcome. Of course, that makes sense, right? So I thought all of this, and I was like, let's talk about the fact that they might be. Nick, I am behind. Oh, look, there's the home run that you're telling me about.
I'm sorry. I
I've
thought
got the Guardians on the side.
Josh Naylor. And shout out to Jacob, who uses Josh Naylor in the same way in MLB The Show.
On MLB The Show, I use Naylor and Reyes. I strike out or hit a home run. I'm just going to walk up there and I'm going to swing that bat.
That's exactly what Josh did.
That's all I'm going to do. So we're like, man, they could be negotiating a suspension. That's wild. And then this comes out. Granted, remember, this was a holiday weekend. So the first business day or first working day that passed after we were told the NFL and NFLPA may be negotiating a suspension, the first day after that, Watson settles. What is 20 out of 24? It's a lot. It's like 80%, 70%, whatever it is. So a vast majority of the cases settle. And of course, people are instantly going, well, he said he was never going to settle. And it's like, of course, you don't give away your leverage. You don't publicly say, yeah, I sure hope they settle tomorrow. So this settlement could have been weeks in the making. We don't know. So we don't know when this comes up. If you don't think that there's a very, very strong possibility in reality that the NFL had a part/hand in this settlement, I don't think you're paying attention. I think, yeah, Watson's got to be willing. He does. Ultimately, it's his life. He has to be willing to some extent to settle. Because I'm sure, I don't know how the legal documents are drawn up, but I'm sure he has to sign something. But if you don't think the NFL potentially went nudge, nudge, wink, wink, we'll knock 4 games off your suspension if you settle, or we'll go for half a season instead of a season if you settle. Because what I think is they put out the season long, they leaked it so that when it's not a season long, they can go, well, we tried, guys. See, we're the NFL. It's not our fault that this arbitrator did this and the NFLPA threatened us, and we were trying to cover up whatever the owners did that they're probably covering up that would be released if the NFLPA were to countersue. This is all, none of this, from the leaks from the defense attorneys, the leaks from the prosecuting attorneys, the leaks from the NFLPA, none of this is by accident. And I think the NFL was like, we will let you get back on the field sooner. We'll let you, quote unquote, like basically in air quotes, put this behind you and get back to, air quotes, normal if you settle. We want this to go away as soon as possible. We are not going to have this dragged out, because think about, say Watson plays and none of these were settled, and say if none of them were settled, he probably gets a year though. I think that, because they wouldn't want this. But think about these playing out while he's playing games and the things that would be said by commentators and things during these games. The NFL does not want that. The NFL, I truly believe, and we'll find out when the suspension comes out, they were like, we need this to be over. It's never over, but you know what I mean.
Ed's been making a face. I gotta know. What's on your mind?
Honestly, what's on my mind is I got the remote over across, and I didn't want to go grab it because I wanted to turn on the Guardians game that I forgot to turn on.
It's good stuff, man. But
he was not reacting to anything I said.
I agree with everything you just said. I mean, but the grimacing and the facial contortions were because of the
It is, Jacob, to your point. I mean,
the NFL will always do whatever it can to protect the shield and their money.
The lawsuit was getting, they brought the Houston Texans into it, right?
Oh, that's when you knew they were going to settle.
Yeah, can you see a situation where a team is brought into a lawsuit against a player in a sexual. That's all that entire sentence is. I can't even get through it.
Yeah.
Right.
It
Yeah,
doesn't.
it's wild.
You know why it doesn't shock me?
What?
Because it involves the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Well, it's not funny, but you know what's not shocking about this whole thing is exactly what you said, is that it's the Browns, so every time something come out, you just sort of like, all right, yeah, that's probably, yep, okay, yep.
We're, the Browns are
Cleveland
pioneers
Browns, of course,
in a lot
of course
things.
they should have known.
Yeah.
What is it?
And you know what? So none of this is talked about in the moment, but as we move, because obviously we're moving towards resolution and moving forward, because when the Browns trade for Deshaun Watson, there's obviously all this reaction because of everything surrounding him. But from just on the football field, I just want it's one of the most significant trades it has potential to be in NFL history. So there's so much to this, right? Because it's this guy that
you don't trade a 26-year-old franchise quarterback in his prime. That doesn't
ever. You don't. And so I don't know. So I started to think
find a way to smooth things over. Like, you know what I mean? Because I know he was upset with Bill O'Brien and the way the things ended there. But like that, disgruntled players happen. You don't trade. So yes, from a football standpoint, no, there's never been any trade like this.
No.
We should have kept Kyrie too. That just shows you got to keep disgruntled players. I'm sorry, I don't want to rehash anything, but we should have kept them.
That's been in the news too, man. All right. You know what? And I gotta say this. I'll dip my toe into that water for a minute. I feel like both Kyrie and LeBron realized they were being dummies, and I think they're gonna have the happy little makeup over in LA. I wanted to curse really bad as I said that. And you know what? It should be in Cleveland. It should be. It should be this amazing story, and it's probably gonna happen in LA, and we're gonna have to watch this bromance and this grand reunion of two adults that realized and made up. And I want
two adults that actually end up being adults in the end.
I'm not gonna lie, Nick. I'm buying my kids Kyrie Irving Laker jerseys. I'm sorry. I'll buy it.
Super Surge says they threatened to add the Texans to it, and the NFL went to Watson and said, settle this thing. Yeah, I think something like that happened.
Because he was so adamant. He was like, I am going to clear my name.
I think we knew for a while, though, that there was going to be, as we got closer to, like, football, that likely at least some of them would settle. They didn't want.
Yeah, usually when you change the numbers, it changes whether they settled or not. For a lot of them, because the ones that are going to hold out are going to hold out for whatever reason. But I mean, I hate to say this in a cruel world, but when it comes to settlements, with the R. Kelly thing, even with the Michael Jackson thing, money does matter. And essentially, if you really do feel offended and you can't get them back criminally, the only way you can get him back is through monetarily. So maybe you do hold out for that extra just to punish him. If you really feel wrong by it. So it's not an admission of guilt or anything. And I know people are fighting on Twitter about what this really means. But, it doesn't discredit a woman if she wants more money because people say, well, she's just money hungry. No, she could just be mad at him because she can't go after him, criminally. So she's going to try to punish him the way that she can.
She may want him to pay her more money because of the emotional distress.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Right. And that's all I'm trying to say. So people, you can't judge either way, really, honestly.
We talked about, Deshaun Watson in the NFL going through this long process. Well, maybe the women don't want to go through a long, drawn-out process. Maybe they just want to move on with their lives.
It makes their whole life. Listen, Deshaun Watson, the NFL, all these they're used to their lives being public because they're famous athletes. These women aren't. These women very well could say, listen, he's not getting charged criminally because he didn't get indicted. He is offering me X amount of money because it's not disclosed. And they're like, okay, I think I deserve more. So I'm going to ask for this. And then he says, okay, I'll give it to you. And they're like, okay, I do not want to continue to have my life and my affairs plastered all over, TV. So I think that could have a lot to do with it too. Guys, go ahead.
I just want to say it's so interesting too, because whenever I pictured the Browns having like a lead quarterback, I never pictured him as like being such a lightning rod, because Baker Mayfield was that, right? Like no matter what you said about Baker Mayfield, there were going to be people on both sides that were like going to think he was like literally a god to like the worst quarterback that has played the game.
Yeah.
And now somehow Deshaun Watson, the Browns' next quarterback, has managed to he is going to be an even bigger, and already is, lightning rod than Baker Mayfield was. And I never even fathomed that as being possible. Like forever when you post about stuff. Yeah. It's Cleveland. Yeah.
Cleveland.
It could never be boring. It's never
guys.
Never is. Never is.
All right, let's move past this. Let's talk some more about the Browns as a roster outside of the quarterback room. We talked about what we needed to say on that sort of stuff. I think that was a very good, constructive conversation, if you ask me. So I have a question here on the rundown that I want to talk to you guys about. And I have, where do you rank the roster minus the quarterback? So I want to go around and kind of talk. You can highlight a couple of positions you think are strengths, maybe even weaknesses, where you are, and if you want to assign a grade at the end of it, go for it. So assign a grade, and we can go from there. But I want to do this exercise because, Ed, you alluded to it. I've seen it on so many other shows. I've been asked it on other shows. I've seen it on Twitter, where if Watson doesn't play a majority of the season, so if he plays if he's suspended for 10 or more games, that it's a wash. That essentially they're going to be 0-10 when he comes back or whatever, based on the things that I've seen, and that they're in a position where, especially if he's out for a year, we're completely donezo, and we shouldn't waste our time. And I think that's just not in any way true. And why I want to talk about that is, where do we rank this roster? So where do you rank the roster? Top 10, top 15, top 20, top 5? Where is the roster without the quarterback? And I know that's the most important position, but the point of this exercise is to look and say, hey, this is this good of a team or this bad of a team, or purely based on other positions, because you don't know injuries that other teams are going to have. Or team injuries you're going to have. So there could be a situation where some of the better quarterbacks maybe get hurt, and the playing field with the quarterbacks evens out, so the better roster around wins out, and the Browns may be there. So we'll start with you, Ed. Where do you have the Browns roster minus the quarterback, and give me some reasons why?
All right, here's what I think about this question. I love the question. Here's how I look at it. Green Bay Packers, they lose Aaron Rodgers. Cleveland Browns lose their quarterback, whether it be Baker Mayfield or Deshaun Watson. I don't care who, whatever. Packers are going 3-13. Cleveland Browns will at least be 8-9 is what we found out last year. Also, this too, I think people think that I'm for Deshaun Watson when it comes to bringing a franchise quarterback to Cleveland, but I'm not unrealistic in the thought that, look, I can go down a QB list and I can put him outside the top 5 of quarterbacks very easily, maybe 6, maybe 7, maybe 8, but not too far, but you could do that. But I look at this Browns roster and I start salivating, because you're talking about the roster minus the quarterback. Give me the defense. I think it's a top 5 defense. Give me the defense. Okay. And then, so then we're talking about offensive line, running backs, and the wide receivers. Okay. So obviously out of the group, the wide receivers is the weakest one per se. Okay. Of those running backs and offensive line. And that's a top 5 offense right there. So actually Deshaun Watson, he actually might hurt my rankings if you think about it. And that's how good
he's outside the top 5.
How good the Cleveland Browns roster is. And I'll see you in the playoffs, Cleveland.
Okay,
Mr. Carnes.
I'm more lean top 10 because I have question marks, and that might surprise people because I'm always glass half full. I mean, obviously, I think the Browns are an upper echelon team, but not to go the Buffalo route on you. Shout out to Down with the Browns, but I am worried about defensive tackle. I don't think that's a position you can just write off. I don't, and no disrespect to anyone in the room, but they're not exactly the most proven guys in the league. So
I don't think anybody will debate that. People may debate that they think they will tap into their potential, but they're not proven by any stretch. No.
And I still can Jacob Phillips stay healthy? Denzel Ward had a great season last year, but is he going to be on the field for the full 17 next year? And none of this is to take away from any of those guys, but it's just there are legitimate questions that you look at. Like we're not that far removed from. I remember our whole defensive backs, our starting defensive backs were out for a month, and so I just have a couple questions.
You're pretty negative, Nick. You're pretty negative tonight.
You know what?
I mean,
honestly,
is this
Nick
Carnes? Is this Nick?
Yeah.
Carnes?
By comparison, I look like a Debbie Downer. Wow. I don't know how that happened.
I like, and honestly, what he's saying is basically, he's saying everything I'm saying with a little bit. Look, they're top 10, top 5. When you're arguing top 5 to top 10, it's not that. I'll take it. If somebody says they're top 10, I'll take it.
You're 100. You know what, though, Ed? In the Browns' range of outcomes, right? You're 100% right. They could be a top 5 roster. They absolutely could be. It's just there a couple questions have to be answered.
That's fair enough. So I can't say there's not. I can't say that they're completely absolutely.
Which brings us to the other end of our spectrum, and I'm fascinated. I can't wait to see what you say, Jacob. What do you think?
So it's a top 10 roster. I've got question marks at defensive tackle, depth at wide receiver. I think the battle for wide receiver, I think they'll keep 6 ultimately as I look at this roster. So battles for wide receiver 5 and 6. I think Jakeem Grant is pretty well secured at wide receiver 5. And then I think there's like 3 or 4 really intriguing guys that battles for wide receiver 6. I feel good about wide receivers 1 and 2. I love DPJ in that role with behind Amari Cooper. I like David Bell playing some inside outside as a big slot in a high volume receiver. So if we're looking at the offensive side, minus the quarterback, it's probably 12 to 15. It's probably somewhere in the top 12 to 15 offenses because I just have depth concerns at wide receiver. I like the wide receivers a lot, and we're going to get to there. I said this on Sports for CLE yesterday, in which I said, that I think the potential is through the roof for this wide receiver room. However, there's not a lot of proven guys. I mean, DPJ is one of your more proven guys, and really he only has 1 season of high volume production in which he was the best receiver on the team statistically, but it's still, I still need a jump from you to be the number 2. David Bell's a rookie. I think he'll be really good, but he's a rookie. You're looking at Anthony Schwartz, who didn't do much, and I kind of expected him not to do much. But, so you're like, what's going on there? I love the tight end room with Harrison Bryant and David Njoku. I think PFF gave the Browns offensive line the second best going in there, and I think that's fair. I think that the best.
Behind who?
The Eagles.
Okay.
The Eagles.
As long as it's not Cincinnati. I'm not hearing that nonsense.
They're better. Their line is better.
I know.
It's okay. But it's better. It's compared to what Burrow has dealt with, it's heaven. Yeah. So it's the best running back room, bar none. I mean, show me a running back room 3 deep like that one, and. So you're like, okay, I like this. I think the wide receivers, they need to make a jump. So it's probably like top 12 offense outside of the quarterback. The quarterback is when the quarterback is on the field, strictly from a football sense, he is a top 8. He's somewhere in the top 8. So that catapults them into a top 10 offense. In my mind, they're probably like 12th or 13th. I think that defense is a top 5 defense. I agree. Defensive tackle needs someone to step up. But this is a passing league. And I think if anything, they can get production and a pass rush from the defensive tackles, if anything. I'm not saying it'll be a lot, but you can bump Miles inside or Isaiah Thomas inside or Alex Wright inside or Jadeveon Clowney inside so that you are able to produce on the inside because you have depth and talent at the edge position. Jacob Phillips will lead the team in tackles right there. There you go. Jacob Phillips will lead the team in tackles this year. If he is healthy next to JOK, if they are both healthy, those are 2 of the more athletic linebackers in football. It's still a big if because he has not been healthy. He has not been healthy, so it definitely is a big if for Jacob Phillips. But I just think that the ceiling on JOK is going to continue to go up and up and up. And then we haven't talked about the defensive backs. There are 5 corners on this team that I like. They're not all 5 elite or Pro Bowlers or anything like that. I'm not going to go out. But there are 5 corners that could start in the NFL on other rosters.
My uncle told me the best corner the Browns had in coverage was actually Greedy Williams, graded by PFF. And I don't know if that's true or not.
Actually, it doesn't really count because of the lack of targets. But the best graded, if I'm mistaken, was A.J. Green.
Okay.
But yes, Greedy was very, very good.
Yeah.
Greedy is your 3rd corner. He's your 3rd corner. Your 4th corner is A.J. Green, and you've got a rookie in Martin Emerson. Mary Kay Cabot was talking about this on the Orange and Brown Talk podcast the other day, and this was something that popped off the screen on his tape when I went back and watched after drafting him. His size and length is very impressive at that position. He is a tall, long, physical corner, which is exactly what Joe Woods needs. And Grant Delpit, they say that 2nd year after that Achilles, that's the year. Grant Delpit, man, is look, I just keep saying, in this about that defense. In this. Yes, defensive tackle, probably at least bottom 3. It might be the worst overall in the league, but everything else is top 5 position-wise. Linebacker, they only want to play 2 linebackers most of the time, so you're going to say, I don't know, there's not a ton of linebacker depth, and I would say you're right. So that one can get a little dicey, but they have so many freaking defensive backs that they can kind of cover that. Ronnie Harrison and John Johnson can play a little bit of linebacker if they need to in the box. So that defense is top 5. So this roster overall is borderline top 10. It's probably around 11 overall, maybe 12 overall without the quarterback. The quarterback puts it in the top 10.
You know what the most exciting part about that is? What did Deshaun Watson do the last time he played in the NFL? Is there any significant stat he did?
Well, he set records.
So he set records. Did he lead the NFL in anything?
Completion percentage and passing yards.
And passing yards. And so how would you both rank the 2020 Houston Texans roster?
Horrible. It was pretty bad.
So
it was bad. I watched that. I didn't watch a lot of them, but I have seen some of the games going back and watching Watson's tape. It's bad.
So all I'm saying is that no matter how you feel about if you're Ed at the top of the mountain saying we're top 5, baby, or if you're me in the top 10 or Jacob saying top 12, whatever that range is, right? Deshaun Watson led the league in passing with a roster that was far worse than what he'll be working with in Cleveland. He was beaten to a pulp, by the way. He was sacked 2 less times than Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow still played 16 games, so it's still an even comparison. But my point is, this is going to be the best team Deshaun Watson has ever played on. It's got to be close.
Probably overall.
Close.
It becomes real interesting.
Those Clemson teams were really good.
Well,
there were some good Clemson teams.
I'm thinking about that one Houston Texans team, but still, you get my point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely in a position where, regardless of the quarterback, we're looking at a team that is, I would say, the top 10 is an elite team. So you're borderline in that elite category without the quarterback, and I understand it's the most important position. But again, how many times did we say average quarterback play last year would have made the playoffs? So
yeah,
I think I said it yesterday on Sports for CLE that 8 to 10, 8 to 11, they're somewhere in that range of percents there for all 17. Last year, there was a surprise player that we did not see coming light up training camp and the preseason. I'm sorry, I got distracted by the bright and shiny colors from the Guardians game. It was Malik McDowell last year. Some of us I did a film study on him, and I was like, man, coming out of college, he was really, really good. But that was like 5 years ago. So we don't know what he's going to do. There were those last 2 games against the Falcons and the Giants, he embarrassed some dudes. He probably got some dudes cut. in those games there at the end of the year. So my question is, and I'll start, and then we'll go to Ed and Mr. Carnes over here, and I want a surprise camp preseason star. He doesn't even have to make the roster, because my guy, I believe, will make the practice squad, at least initially. So I want a surprise camp or preseason star prediction before we reconvene, and all three of us are back in a couple of weeks. I did mention earlier I will be off the main show for the next couple of weeks. Ed and Nick will, unless something comes up, they will be continuing on. So when we reconvene, we will be closing in on
Nick and Ed.
Training camp.
Nick. We'll bring it to you. Jacob will come back, and it'll be great.
My surprise star is Mike Harley. Mike Harley Jr. is creating a ton of separation based on videos I've seen and tweets from Cameron Justice, and some other people have talked about this and things. And of course, I defer with a lot of this stuff to the people that are there, the people that are seeing it, because I can see everything in the game. I can't see everything in the offseason program and training camp until I'm there. And we'll do a live show probably right after training camp and some things like that. And that was a heck of a move there in center field to keep that from being a double right there for the Guardians, in case you guys were curious what just happened there.
We got guards fever.
Nice little sliding grab there. So Mike Harley they need a slot receiver. And you're going to come at me and you're going to say it's going to be David Bell, Amari Cooper's going to play some time in there, maybe even Anthony Schwartz. While I agree with all of those statements, who's the backup? So that's something we've been talking about, that I just talked about, was the depth at wide receiver is the scariest part that could hold that offense back, even with elite quarterback play, should they get elite quarterback play at any point this season. And so I ultimately think that Mike Harley becomes a practice squad guy that gets called up when those situations occur where there's an injury and you're like, man, David Bell's got to play on the outside because DPJ's hurt or Amari's hurt. And so he's going to be on the outside playing that outside wide receiver. We need somebody in the slot. That is what Mike Harley is. He's a slot receiver for 5 years down there at Miami, Florida. Very productive player, 4.46 speed. So he is no slouch. You're going to see a guy that reminds you a lot of Jarvis Landry, right? Where it's 4th and 12, and he gets you 8. I'm sorry, 2nd and 12. He gets you 8, makes it a 3rd and manageable. Or it's 3rd and 4, and he gets you 5. He can shake some people. He can get vertical, but he's in the slot, and he's going to get you consistently like 5 to 10 yards. Consistent. That's what Jarvis was going to get you, and Jarvis could break those big ones here and there after the catch. Harley is a faster Jarvis Landry, where he does just about all the things that you loved Jarvis Landry to do. Mike Harley can do that to a certain extent, and he has reliable hands. He's going to have to really battle, but I think he could impress some people to where they're at least going to consider it, and then he will ultimately, I think, be stashed on the practice squad.
I've got a tidbit for you both, a little rapid react. We have, I guess, Mary Kay Cabot said that you can expect a decision about Deshaun Watson next week, and it could happen as early as this week.
I think we all believed going into the 4th of July weekend that's when it was coming.
Yeah. Ed, how do you feel?
Good, relieved. I want it over with. And
Whatever.
You know what? I mean, I think the initial timetables as to what Jacob said, but anytime you have somebody as qualified as Mary Kay Cabot tweeting that out, then it is almost imminent in journalism world. Imminent means within the next week or whatever like that, which I think by Friday maybe.
It's kind of funny though that you say that, because like I'm dabbling a little bit in sports journalism now, and you're so right. Imminent in sports journalism is not what imminent is in the real world.
Yeah,
But at least, you know what? At least we're finally coming to a place where there's going to be a resolution, because no matter what it is, at least then we can start. You know what? Because that's the
we can start doing predictions.
Get ready for the season. You can't make season predictions. You can't say, okay, well, how do we handle this game, and what's our offensive game plan, and how are we going to run routes, and I mean, obviously it's game plan, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
I know what you mean.
What is the team's overall mission going to be? I think these are essential things they need to know.
Vegas wants to know as well, I heard.
Vegas does want to know.
I've told you guys from the beginning, Yeah, I just want to know if it's a year, if it's 2 years, if it's indefinite, if it's 4 games, whatever the heck it is. Just tell me so we can get on with it already.
At that point, then that's the thing. It's like we can only talk about the season so much because there's such a big question mark looming over it. And so once we at least have that answer, whatever it is, then you can actually think, hey, football season's like this is the longest day of the year. It's downhill from here. It's going to start getting dark. It's going to start. Fall's coming. I don't care. It's June 21st. I don't care. Football fever. It's coming.
Is it June 21st? I was like, you're like, it's June 21st. I'm like, is it? Like, I was just like, learning to look at this and figure out what's going on there.
Well, I'm going to answer Jacob's question with this. Does anything ever go easy in Cleveland? And we all know the answer is no. So here's who's going to break out in camp. We're going to have some good preseason games just to make life that much more difficult. This guy's going to get the force with him because I know he's a big Star Wars fan. It's going to be one Demetric Felton. He's going to do some things, and you're going to be like, you know what? If you would just be bad, it would make it easier for everyone. But you're going to do some things that make the coaches and everybody. And I think that he's going to make some big plays in the preseason games, and you're going to fall in love with some of the things that he can do. So I kind of, the kid's a good kid. I like him. So I hope the force is with you and whatever happens. But that's why, because you know what? Even when something good happens to a Cleveland Brown, sometimes it just makes it more difficult for the team. And you know what? That's why I love the drama, and I love Cleveland. I love the Browns because it's entertainment.
I can see that. Fun. That's a good answer.
I predict
huge strikeout for Savelli.
It's beautiful. Savelli's dealing tonight.
Yeah, he is.
I think we were talking about this pre-show, just a little pullback behind the curtain. There's a very realistic possibility that all 3 Cleveland teams are playing at the same time this year, and I am here for that. It's realistic. I think it's realistic. I'm on the hype train fully. What else is new? Anyway, so my favorite pick of the draft may I don't know. It may surprise you. I have no idea. But my favorite pick of the draft and the guy I think that has a great chance to shine is none other than Jerome Ford. And I will tell you that running backs fall in the draft every year that are incredibly talented because of the positional depth that's there. I think the Browns took the perfect moment to get a guy that can be their centerpiece. I don't even want to go, but I mean, we have to go down that road, right? The Browns drafted a running back. He's on a 4-year timetable. So I love Nick Chubb. I love Kareem Hunt. But I mean, it would be playing stupid if you didn't say that obviously there's a potential future plan at the position if that's the way it goes. And Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, they could ward him off. They very much could. But you draft a running back for a reason. I think Jerome Ford is going to be a good one, and I'm all aboard that hype train long before it even starts chugging.
Choo choo. Well, I think that brings us to Ed's go for it for the week, as I know that it pertains to that room. So let's go ahead and jump into that as we get towards the end of this week's show.
Yes, my go for it, which I'm glad. Perfect timing. I talk about Demetric Felton. You talk about Jerome Ford. We're going to talk about that running back room because last week a Cleveland native, one Kareem Hunt, indicated that he would like to stay in Cleveland. And how does he stay in Cleveland if he's only on a 1-year deal? Well, obviously there'd have to be an extension or some kind of arrangement made by the front office and one Andrew Berry. And my question to you guys is, would you go for it? Honestly, if you can get a fair contract, a little hometown discount, a little Jose kind of Ramirez action, hometown discount, probably not quite as much as that was. Thank goodness that he took that. But, I'm grateful for Jose. But if you can get Kareem Hunt done, maybe a 2-year deal, 3-year, just extend him that, I'm saying, would you go for it? Because I honestly, I like having them. I still think that everybody talks about these new cats that are coming like Jerome Ford. I think they're good, but like you said, on a 4-year window. And, hey, you got time to extend Kareem another 2 to 3 years if you wanted to and still make them a backup number 3. So what do you guys say? Go for it, Kareem Hunt.
You got this, Jacob.
No. I love Kareem Hunt. Your quarterback's making $46 million next year. I'm not paying $7 million to the backup running back. He's great. He's not Nick Chubb. To put Kareem Hunt on the field, you're quite often taking Nick Chubb off the field. Jake Burns did this thing, and you can go back and listen to his podcast. the efficiency numbers of running backs in the passing game are not impressive. It's all about making people miss in the open space. So having Kareem as a wide receiver, I'd rather a tight end, an athletic tight end, or a wide receiver. That's, I love Kareem Hunt. I'm not paying my number 2 running back more than $5 million, because even on a discount, it's going to be $7, $8, $9 million. And he deserves $7, $8, $9 million. My quarterback's making 46 next year. That's the reality of a franchise quarterback. I love Kareem Hunt, but no, because the financials, they just no way it works.
I'm going for it.
Yeah.
I'm going for it because while I understand that it doesn't make sense to pay your second running back that much money, Andrew Berry's a salary cap wizard, and I don't care about it. I don't care about it. There's been lots of teams that just pretend it doesn't exist. Somehow the Los Angeles Rams pull money out of every orifice that there could ever be. So Kareem Hunt was fantastic before he got hurt last year, and I think he would still be. When he was fully healthy, he tied Alvin Kamara for the receiving touchdown lead by running backs. And I think he, if healthy, he is a difference maker. So I'm signing him because I don't believe in this salary cap. I don't believe in it. Andrew Berry's too smart, and I'm not here. So what? Spend the money then. Spend it.
Tell me the last team to win a Super Bowl that had an elite running back.
I know.
It's a feel good story.
Okay, yeah, it feels great, but it doesn't equate to Super Bowl wins, and that's what I want. I want Super Bowl wins and not to waste cap space on players that don't make the difference to a Super Bowl run. I love him. I love him.
Baker just throws the ball to Kareem Hunt instead of like blindly missing him at every random point in the season. I mean, I think Kareem Hunt, I think he's a playmaker. I really do.
You want to pass the ball more, and you want to pay 2 running backs.
Also, guys, I want to give everybody the secret out there. There really is such a thing as Santa Claus. Jacob just fired him, though.
I'm just saying.
Would you say
pay everyone?
Which food is more of a casserole, a pizza roll, or a pierogi?
So that's a.
Well, see, in a typical casserole, it's not completely enclosed, typically speaking, right? A pizza roll. Well, if you cook that's what I was gonna say. If you cook the pizza roll,
ooze at the top.
It will actually pop open and ooze, but it's not supposed to. So, with a pierogi, there's kind of a little bit of an opening. There's kind of a design for it to come out and not be completely enclosed in like a pocket. So a pizza roll is more like a hot pocket, and a pierogi is a casserole. Yes.
Wow. There you have it.
I'm just hungry now. So thanks.
Or a hot pocket. A hot pocket. And I'm sorry. A pizza roll is an Italian Danish. There you go.
Italian Danish.
That makes a lot of sense. Capiche?
If you were picking a flavor of cheesecake, what would you prefer?
Well, I just an original New York style cheesecake myself. But you know what? Give me a Oreo. Put some Oreos on there. Give me any kind of fudge topping on that cheesecake. The whipped cream action on that cheesecake. And give me a Mountain Dew with it because I drink that with everything. And maybe one of those Built bars after I get done. Because hey, what's the promo code there, Jacob?
That would be barking.
That would be barking.
10% off.
10% off.
10% off.
That's what I would do.
I wanna, I wanna say as we're getting towards the end here, and I hope you're listening, because one of our wonderful patrons, Mr. Tato, you are this month's winner of the Zebo Apparel shirt giveaway. Thank you for supporting the Barking Brown Show. Thank you for being one of our Patreon members. We do all kinds of fun stuff to make that's worth your $5 a month. Every month, we give away a shirt from the great people at Zebo Apparel. They are local in Vermilion, and they are veteran-owned. They make great stuff. Everybody's liked it that has won. So if you're interested in being a patron, we've got that for you. We've got group chats. We've got some hot Jacob content. Because when don't you get hot Jacob content? You always get. The man's a machine. I don't know. He says he's taking a 2-week break. I have yet to believe him. I do.
I'm going to end up like, I made this joke. I'm like, I'm going to end up doing like 50 million side projects and not, like, I won't be on this show, the main show, but I'll end up doing just as much work. Like,
so, Mr. Tato, I will be messaging you, and we will get you your shirt from Zebo. Thank you for supporting us. That $5, you know what? It helps us. Last year it helped us get NFL Game Pass. It helped us get YouTube TV so we could watch Thursday Night Football. This year, you know what? That stuff really helps the Barking Brown Show. And you notice we got a sexy intro. You know, Jacob on the scene. We've got Ed on full payroll now. Full payroll. Look at him go. You know, you guys.
12 cents an hour.
Hey,
that's why
really?
I try to keep it under an hour.
Because I got a raise.
Yeah, if we keep it under an hour, I don't have to pay him. So we've got exactly 3.5 minutes before I have to give him 12 cents. Shit. Right, guys. I think it was a productive conversation. Some good, fun stuff going on there. So we're going to do stadium talk. Wrap this up just a couple of minutes. We'll go around the horn. Dome or no dome, or retractable roof. Ed.
You got to put some kind of structure over the top. So a retractable roof is my preference. I know I take a lot of slack. People have called me less of a man for my stand of not wanting an open air stadium. But I'm not
sitting in an open air stadium in January.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's the thing. And here's the thing. My thing is this. I love the Cleveland Browns. And I know some people, this is about the Cleveland Browns and about football. But, you know, my birth certificate says Cleveland, Ohio. To me, it's more about just the Browns. It's about the city of Cleveland, my civic pride. And I see cities like Indianapolis and even Detroit with their structures. And they're getting, you know, these events and everything. And I just think I wish that money would come back to Cleveland. I know there's some arguments about the city's finances and where that money would go. I get that. But I always say this. I look at Indianapolis. I look at Detroit, which I think Cleveland's better than Detroit. And I look at Minneapolis and all these other comparable cities, and I just think, well, they have one, and they figured out how to get one and everything. So, and I also think this too. I just think that a nice structure like that on the lake would actually would be good for the city. You know, I love Cleveland, and, you know, anytime you get something new, it's exciting. It's a new place to go, new memories. Just think about this too. How many people go on their first date maybe with their supposed person, and they'll be going to a Browns game, and they'll be sitting inside, and it'll be nice, and it won't be 20 below, and you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I just think that life gets in the way sometimes, especially when you get older. You start to appreciate it more. So, and that's what I want for the city of Cleveland. So that's my answer on that, and will always be my answer. And there's football made to be played in the elements. When they wrote the rules of football, they just played football. They didn't say has to be played in the elements. Nobody ever wrote those. Those words were never spoken. So get over yourselves. It's 2022. Let's have some fun.
Go back to 2020 and look at those 3 games that were monsoons, and they were some of the worst football ever. So I don't want to hear about football weather. I don't give a shit.
And a certain quarterback who is now a member of the Cleveland Browns really had a rough day that day, passing in that monsoon. So he's going to be your quarterback, right? So I guess that dives into my – I have a 2-piece argument. First piece is from an actual football perspective. I think when the weather gets crappy, and this is from someone, and granted I just play high school football, but like I played high school football in the elements and I loved it, you know, and I love football in the snow. But if you're going to have an elite quarterback, your best chance to maximize that guy is to just play in the same elements as much as you can, right? Unaltered. Just let the guy be elite and dominate on the football field. And so how do you do that? You take all the other factors out of it, right? Like, is Deshaun Watson a more capable passer in the snow or in a dome? And I think anyone, and even Aaron Rodgers, who lost in the NFC semifinals in a snowy game, would tell you that they would be better in a dome. So with that in mind, with the fact that the Browns will finally have an elite quarterback, I want a dome. I want one. And you know what? I don't like any of that retractable stuff because it does stupid things with the sun. Like you get little random patches. I don't want any of that. So just give me a dome. Goodbye. Outdoor weather. We'll play maybe in Buffalo sometime. I don't know. Whatever. But Cleveland's gonna be a dome. And so from the second point, the plans that were proposed had a land bridge from downtown to both the stadium and that area with the Science Center and the Rock Hall. I think we desperately need in Cleveland a way to go straight down there. There's no great way. It just doesn't make sense, right? And if you get a new stadium, you're going to get restaurants and hotels and all this, and you'll get a Super Bowl. I want a Super Bowl. I want a Super Bowl in Cleveland. We hosted the NFL draft, and NBA All-Star game, MLB All-Star game. We can get a Super Bowl. I promise we can, and that alone is worth it to me. Dome.
Yes. All right, guys, that was a great show. That's all I had. Yes. give me a review.
You said this is episode 61.
61.
Do we have a player 61? Anybody?
Wasn't Steve? What's his name? The center that Steve Everett. I think it was Steve Everett, the one that went to Baltimore and was still wore the Browns stuff.
Okay. I'll take it.
And if I'm wrong, just fillet me on Twitter.
This has for sure been episode 62.
61.
61. Wow. God. There we are.
Steve Everett.
So this is Steve Everett, number 61 episode of the Barking Brown Show. We'll try that again. I'm Nick. He's Ed. And he's Jacob. And I pointed the right way both times. Wow. We're getting good at this. Go Browns.
Go Browns.
Stay classy, San Diego.